Okay, this is David Wilcock, and after finishing my interview with Benjamin Fulford last night, I wanted to do my due diligence on this whole story. It's an amazing story. I know that many people have trouble believing in a story of this scope. I know that many people have trouble believing in Benjamin Fulford, even though, as we just established in this interview, he has impeccable credentials. He's met with prime ministers, he's met with many of the top people in Asian government, military, etc. All that being said, the proof in the pudding is in the eating. And if this lawsuit has been filed, then there are going to be telephone numbers on it, including the names of the law firms involved, and so forth. So what happened is I decided to take a risk in making this jump to actually try to find out if in fact this attorney, William Mulligan, and the firm that he claimed to represent, Bleakley, Platt and Schmidt, was real. What happened was I picked up the phone and looked him up on the internet, and there was a direct line that they gave. When I spoke to him on the phone, obviously I could hear his voice. He knew who I was. First thing that happens, I pick up the phone, I call him, he says, "Oh, you're David Wilcock." I'm like, uh-oh. But I didn't know if this was fake, and I was going to explain myself and introduce myself, and he kind of cut me off, and then he says, I said, "Well, would you be willing to talk later?" And he said, "Perhaps," and it was a very stern perhaps, and then that was it. So now I had the voice. I didn't know if it was real or not. I sent him an email in which I said, "Look, if this is not real and you're being harassed and people are calling you, please let me know. I will nuke the story. I will go out there on my website and represent this as a fraud. Please let me know." Immediately after I sent that email, on my browser, through this little pop-up window that lets you send it right to him on the Bleakley, Platt and Schmidt legal website, I go back to my inbox. There's a brand new email that wasn't there but 30 seconds earlier before I had checked all my email right before I wrote the letter. I go back and I have a letter from an old-time friend and acquaintance, Kimberly Yeager, who's on with me right now. And Kimberly, your part of the story fascinates me because you send me an MP3 file that has the voice of the exact same guy I just was speaking to. And why don't you tell me yourself what happened from there?
Okay, so what happened is that I've been following this story very carefully, and my husband is an attorney, so we immediately on Thanksgiving went to pacer.gov to look for the case.
Right.
But have since realized that it takes days for it to post.
Right.
But continued checking Pacer every day for the last couple of days, and this morning I asked him to check again, and he's the one who sent me the contact information of the firm.
Okay.
And so essentially I called and I left a voicemail, and then I also sent an email, and within minutes William Mulligan called me back. I have the caller ID on my phone from the same number.
Wow.
And he made the statement that you have the clip of that you can use.
We'll post it in right now. So for the listeners who are listening, here we go. We'll roll the clip.
Thank you, Mr. Mulligan. So if you would just answer my question, we would all appreciate that. Thank you.
William Hughes Mulligan, Jr. I'm a member of the firm of Bleakley, Platt and Schmidt, and yes, we filed the complaint on November 23rd, representing Neil Keenan, index number 11 Civ 8500.
All right. Thank you very much. All right.
You.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, great. So he definitely confirms that this is a civil complaint that was filed through his firm and that the whole story is true. This is absolutely astonishing, utterly groundbreaking, world-changing information. This is probably the biggest scoop for a journalist covering this New World Order Illuminati story ever. I mean, what could possibly be bigger than this? This is unprecedented.
Well, that's how I felt about it, and so I continued to follow it and got my own personal confirmation. And I also wanted to tell you that I did talk to him. I just hadn't made that statement. That's all I wanted. But I did ask him about the pacer.gov because we were all curious about that. And he said that he had checked, and the most recent case that has been filed was of November 22nd. He's not seeing anything later than that. And he said, you can probably go to the courthouse and get a copy right there. So if there's anybody in New York, they can go to the court and ask for a copy.
Well, some people are going to cringe for me saying this, but I'm looking at the clock right now, and it's 11:11.
Nah. Perfect.
You know, I mean, you can't deny the synchronicity. It was instantaneous after I sent this guy the letter that I clicked back to my inbox, and you sent me the proof. And now I had just heard his voice, and so it's definitely the same guy.
Right.
Is there a reason why he was so quick to end that statement? Was he wanting to not talk to you very much and reluctant, or how did you feel about that?
No. He was. No, we talked a bit before that, and then I asked permission to record that statement.
Okay.
So I asked him permission if I could record it, because that was really all I wanted. I just wanted the proof that the case had been filed and that he had filed it. And I didn't ask him any further questions than that. That was all I wanted to know.
Well, obviously, one of the things that somebody should ask him is, are you suicidal? Because, you know, there's these kind of guys have an unfortunate habit of suddenly deciding to want to kill themselves.
Well, I don't know anything about that, but he sounded very calm and cool and collected and had no problem
I'm being
answering
facetious.
my questions.
I'm being facetious. I mean, all the paranoid conspiracy tinfoil hat guys out there are immediately going to say, well, if this is true, then this guy's going to get suicided. How could they possibly let him live? That's going to be the skeptical argument is, even though this guy's a real law firm, and even though I heard his voice and you heard his voice, and we're obviously not colluding on this all has happened spontaneously, and I just called you, people are still going to think that, well, if it's true, then it still can't be true because the New World Order guys would have already killed him and they never would have allowed this to happen. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think that the attorney has anything to do with it. He's just doing his job.
Right. Right, exactly.
So he's just doing his job, and obviously he felt that he was willing to put his name on it. So.
Did he give you any other particulars about the case itself? What was the substance of the rest of your conversation?
Like I said, I really only wanted to know if it had truly been filed, and I wanted the proof, and that was the best proof I could get. Okay. Yep.
Well, Kimberly, I thank you for making this statement, and I am going to try to see if I can get a more substantive interview from him. I told him I would compensate him at his normal rate to do so, so we'll check on that story and see if we can get any movement on that. But thank you. We'll end the recorded part right here.